Word.
Hello, everyone. Today's webinar is CPUC Funding, Connect Your Community. We are Community Tech Network, and we have some fine folks from my team here to talk about this funding opportunity. We have a short presentation. We have time at the end for Q&A, but at any time, if you have a question, please do submit it via the chat. So I'm Cami Griffiths. I'm the Executive Director and Co-founder. I'm joined by Sabrina Tam, our Senior Program Manager, and Carrie Gray. Next slide. And there's, now that you know us, if you don't mind just quickly submitting your name, organization, and your role at your organization via the chat. It's always nice to see who's listening in or tuning in. So while we do that, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the three of us. So I am, like I said, Executive Director, Co-founder. We've been around for 14 years, or I've been lucky enough to be around this wonderful work for 14 years. And I currently actually reside outside of Austin, Texas. We have programming across the country. And my team is still in the Bay Area. So I'm going to pass it over to Sabrina to do her introduction.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sabrina Tam, and I've joined CTN since I think 2017 as an instructor / program manager, and I'm right now a senior program manager, and I work primarily on CPUC programs.
Great. And then Carrie is going to be answering questions on the chat. So Carrie, do you want to say a quick few words?
Sure. Good morning. I'm Carrie Gray. I'm the program director for the digital literacy programs, which are both our program group classes and individual classes, online and in person.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. So a quick bit about Community Tech Network. Like I mentioned, we were established in 2008, and our mission is to transform lives through digital literacy. And our work is primarily focused on basic and intermediate digital literacy training for low-income adults of all ages. And that what we do is create curriculum and offer training for trainers, in addition to the direct service of our trainers working directly with the clients or residents or patrons of a specific social service agency. Our work is done entirely in partnership with nonprofits and government agencies, and that we have partners in over 50 agencies across the country. And so this image here, the outlined states are where we have partners or programming, and the other states represent where our volunteers or staff members are. Next slide. And now I'm going to hand it off to Sabrina, who will tell us more about the CPUC funding.
Thank you, Cami. So the CPUC California Advanced Service Fund can be traced back actually to year 2007, and it has gone through several revolutions. The latest one just happened this year, and that's why we would like to share with all of you some of the most impactful changes made to these funding guidelines, which we believe would make these funding opportunities even more attractive or more exciting. So first of all, there are multiple accounts under CASF. Each has millions of dollars available for the fiscal year 2022 to 2023. Let's say if your organizations or facilities needs infrastructure for broadband, you would want to apply for the broadband public housing account or the consortia account. However, the account that CTN has been actively involved in is the broadband adoption account. This account funds devices as well as training. And for the 2022 and 2023 fiscal year, there is $19 million available for us to apply. So this adoption account has a semi-annual application cycles. The upcoming deadline is July 1st, 2022. Then it is due every 6 months until fund is exhausted. So if you miss the July 1st deadline, the next deadline will be January 1st, 2023, and so forth. Okay. And I know that I've given out a bit of information just on this slide already. So if you have any questions, as Cami and Carrie said, type them in the chat and we'll get to them after the presentation. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, there are changes made to these CSS fundings. Just last week, actually, May 19th, the CPUC website still showing the old application packet. The new version is expected to be available in a week or two. But here are some of the key guidelines that we can expect. So the first bullet point here is not new, really. CPUC has been funding 85% of eligible program cost. The remaining 15% could come from the grantee's operating budget or another grant or funding sources. This is typically called a match. And then for devices, the account funds for both computers that are used in a classroom or computer lab, as well as devices the learners may take home and keep. So for take-home devices, the maximum amount CPUC will reimburse is $300 per device. This is an increase. This is an increase from $150 for the current program. So this is a big jump. For $300, you can purchase a pretty decent tablet and Chromebook, brand new, not refurbished. Please note that smartphones are not considered as eligible devices, only laptops, tablets, and Chromebooks. Okay, and there's also a cap of $40,000 for take-home devices per project. And if you do the math, that's about 133 units of these $300 devices per project. Also, it is important to note that CPUC will only reimburse for devices given to low-income participants. And it is the grantee's responsibilities to screen and make sure that the participants are eligible. For in-classroom devices, the cap is $750 per unit and $11,250 per project, which gives you about 15 devices, of which 15 computers per project. And then for the training, each learner has to receive a minimum of 8 hours of training in class that hasn't been changed. This is still the requirement, but it can come in as a group class or one-on-one tutoring or self-paced materials. And then administrative cost must be 15% or less of the overall proposed budget. And again, the updated application packet is expected to be available by the end of the month, within the next couple of weeks. Okay, so let's look at the timeline. So if we submit the application meeting the July 1st timeline, then you will look at about 2 to 3 months for CPUC to review your applications. And they may come back to you, have some questions, and have to clarify something for them. Usually in about 2 to 3 months, that will bring us to Q4 in 2022. They will notify you whether you're awarded with the grant, and then you will accept it or not. After that, there will be a 6 months ramp up period. So you can prepare for the program to start. And the program itself for program delivery is 2 years. So, and then there are 3 reports required throughout the program. First one is when the ramp up is completed. And then upon the end of year 1, and then the end of year 2, or whenever the program is completed, if it's earlier. And you also have 3 opportunities to get reimbursed for program cost. Typically, you want to align the reimbursement request with the 3 reporting timeline, but it is not a requirement anymore. So CPUC actually make the change that the reporting and the reimbursement can be done separately. And as you would imagine, with these kind of reimbursement grants, you will have to pay upfront the program cost for as long as 1 year for this year before you can get reimbursed. So cash flow could be a consideration for some organizations. So just so you can keep that in mind. Okay. Now, why work with CTN? Because of the extensive experience, not only in digital literacy training, but also specifically about this CPUC funded program. So since 2015, CTN has partnered with over 20 organizations using this CPUC funding to provide digital literacy training at 80 plus locations. To date, we have trained over 2,200 learners and have distributed over 2,200 devices at these locations. And the chart below here on the left shows the different types of clients that we served. About half of them are seniors. And then we also serve a lot of families with school-age children. And then to a smaller extent, we work with some SROs. And then recently, we just started working with transitional age youth, 18 to 24 in Sacramento. So that's a very small amount. And then the chart on the right, you can see the different types of take-home devices we have taught. Is a pretty even split between laptops, Chromebooks, and tablets. We have proven impact on the clients we served. We will help you reach your program goals, whether it's to help your clients combat social isolation with technology, or to help them sharpen their job search skills, or simply just to stay active in the community by having better access to online resources and entertainment. Okay, so we have some quotes from the learners. I'm not going to read through all of them, but I'll say the middle one, which is my favorite one, is from a Spanish-speaking parent that we have in Sunnyvale. She said that learning to use email has been extraordinarily useful. I can finally communicate with my children's teacher at school. My children and I also email each other throughout the day. It's a great way for me to practice my new skill while also reminding my kids how much I love them and wishing them a great day. Okay, and we also have some quotes from our partners. The bottom one here is from Hamilton Families in San Francisco. Running online cohorts during a pandemic for beginners users is not an easy task, but our partnership with CTN made it happen. So we have a lot more of these inspirational stories on our website. If you're interested, come to our website and look at check out our blog post. Past and present CPUC program partners. We have, I think, over 20 partners that we have worked with for CPUC programs. The majority of them are in the San Francisco Bay Area, but we also have one in Southern Cal, in the LA area. That one our partnership is a train the trainer. So they already have a staff that they have in mind who can do the training for them. So we just train the trainer and license our curriculum. And then we also have a partner in Sacramento, I mentioned before, the youth program. And this one we're doing online. Everything is online, so we're still able to support them from the Bay Area. Okay. So if you look at our partners, it range from housings, affordable housings, different cities, senior centers, libraries. So a wide range of partners that we work with. Languages. Many of our staff and trainers in-house are bilingual or even trilingual, English, Cantonese, Mandarin, Russian, and Spanish. We also have experience working with contractors for the other languages, like Farsi, Korean, Tagalog, and Vietnamese. And it is very important for our learners to be able to learn technology in their own language, because they will feel less intimidated and the training is proved to be more effective if it's done in their own language. Okay. So more reasons why partnering with CTN to apply for this CPUC CASF fund. CTN can help you review your application and provide you with advice, because we're experienced with so many years of experience working with CPUC. We can also share with you some sample text that of some accepted applications. And our curriculum is also accepted by CPUC. You can use it as a sample curriculum along with your application. And of course, we will still customize the curriculum based on your client's needs, but having a sample curriculum that you can send along your application, it will improve your chance of being approved. And if you have staff or volunteer who can do the training, that's great. And as I mentioned, we can train your trainer, we can license our curriculum to you and make sure that you can support your clients effectively with the materials. We can also share our experience with the different devices that we have used for classes and help you select the best option for your clients. And after all, we have 10 plus years of experience delivering instruction. And because of the pandemic, we are now offering both virtual and in-person classes, and as well as hybrid, a combination of both. Okay. Some other services we're available. So include device configuration. So not only we could help you select the most appropriate device for your clients, we can also help you configure the devices before they are shipped out or distributed to the learners. We found that preloading the device with certain apps or adjust some settings in certain ways will make the learning much easier for the learner. And in addition to the training can be done in different languages, we can also help you translate outreach materials into different languages, such as flyers. And last but not least, we can guide you through the reporting and reimbursement process. And if you do not have the capacity to do these tasks, we are happy to handle them for you at a very reasonable fee. And after all, we work with you to make sure your clients are well served and you have a successful program from beginning to end. Okay, now I will open up the floor for questions. Carrie, if there are any questions in the chat?
I don't see any questions yet. However, I did notice a couple of our partners are currently on this call. And so I thought maybe Chris could say a few words about working with us at EH.
Hey, can you hear me? Hi, people.
Great, thanks.
My little chat in the background. Good to see you folks. Thank you for this. It's been a great experience working with CTN. And in fact, CTN has been on our mind as we look to apply for more grants in July. So that should tell you all you need to know right there. Everything's been smooth up front, and the information flows. And I can't say enough about one of the things we need the most during these times is positive and what we call surround sound outreach. And I'll bring up TPT in San Jose, which was just so impressive to have 50 signups before even class began. And if folks know that one of the challenges, and I come from about 17 years of experience of door-to-door sales before I became a tech. And so when I see 50 signups before we even start the class, I'm like, you're doing what we need. That was more impressive than anything. But all the experience, what do we need? We need communication, right? Communication lines open. And so each time we've connected, it's just been a really positive experience. And that's indicative in that we're going to be submitting for more grants. So thank you, CTN.
I'm so happy to hear that. And Sabrina went in person to Town Park Towers to do the outreach. And I think that is one of the most successful methods for recruiting learners at your sites.
Yes. So thank you for reaching out.
Yeah, sure.
And we'll be calling you soon.
Great.
Yeah.
And I also noticed that Jennifer is on the call, and she worked with us at on a previous CPUC grant. Maybe Jennifer, you want to share some insights about how it was to work with us?
Well, it was really great and really easy. Sabrina was super organized, and we are able to have monthly check-ins to see how the buildings are doing, how we can support more outreach, like device setups. They take care of that. So it was really, really great experience, and I'm looking forward to seeing if we could apply for more of our buildings with this grant.
Oh, that's great. And then finally, I see Linda Phillips from SourceWise is on the call, and we just did a big project with SourceWise. And I'm wondering, Linda, I don't want to spring this on you if you're not willing to say a few words, but just maybe a few words about how it was to work with us if you're comfortable speaking up right now.
Yeah, it was a great experience working with CTN with our Google Home Smart Speaker program. And they provided training and support. And we were able to distribute over 610 Google Home smart speakers provided by the California Department of Aging. And we are partnering once again on our new project, which is our Chat iPad program, which is also a state program. And CTN will be one of the training vendors as well.
Great, thank you so much. And we really enjoyed working with all of you as well. EAH and Saha and SourceWise have been great partners for us as well. And I'm just wondering, because we do have a few minutes left and I can't remember what slide is next. I'm wondering if we have time just to put in the chat, put the name of the agency you're from, and maybe a few words about the community you serve, or what type of why you think digital literacy would be especially important to your community. I think that's a good conversation starter for us.
Heather, do you mind if I ask a quick question while we do that?
Of course.
Hi, it's Joanne Halliday
Yes, I
from
don't
Google.
mind.
Hi.
Sorry.
I was just wondering, does the CPUC funding cover the cost of the devices and any CTN costs for training, management, etc.?
Sabrina, would you like to respond?
Sure. Yes. Thank you for the question. Yes, the CPUC does fund for the devices and training, not the full amount, but 85%. And then there is a cap of the maximum amount that they will cover per device. So I think that we will post this presentation on our website after.
Yeah,
so
I saw that. So it's like 85% and the other 15 is considered admin, but it includes the device and the CTN cost of training.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And you're reimbursed for it. So
if you pay it up front.
Yep. And then you get reimbursed after the ramp up period, after the first year, and at the end of the grant for your after your final report.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll ask some questions since I don't see any in the chat right now. I'm going to check the chat again. But one of the questions is for Sabrina. What happens if somebody starts a project and then there's a global pandemic and we have to cancel all classes? And so our timing isn't the same as it was when we submitted to CPUC.
That's correct. So for the pandemic, actually, CPUC has been very understanding and flexible. They granted every program a 1-year extension, automatic extension. But after that, if you need more time, you can apply for an extension by submitting a formal request, like writing a letter to CPUC. And usually they approve it with good reasons why we need the extension. And then you can apply for up to 2 extensions throughout your program timeline.
Okay, were there any other questions? Any questions about the CPUC funding itself or about working with CTN? So the process would be your agency would apply for the funding from CPUC and create an MOU with CTN to deliver the training services. And we will help you with that. We'll help you with writing your grant application too. And Chris noted in the chat that he likes to tell folks that digital learning helps connect our residents to the river, in the Spanish word being Rios, as an acronym meaning resources, information, opportunity, and services. That's such a great acronym. Love that. All right, were there any other questions before Cami moves on?
I would share my screen again. I think I have one or two more slides.
Okay. Well, that's a good question from Molly. Is there always a device component? Are the grants also issued for training alone? That's a great question. That's a Sabrina question.
Yeah, training alone is definitely allowed. And yet not all of our programs include a device. Majority does, because that's kind of an incentive for people to participate in the training. But there are some trainings that we've done, they only have a device in classroom devices, not a take-home devices. And there are also programs that that the learners bring their own device and we train them on those devices. But I would have to say that when the learners bring their own device, it's a little bit more challenging for our trainers because there are different types of devices. Even for iPad, there are different versions, or Android, different versions. For beginners, if they can get a standard device that is pre-programmed by CTN or by your staff, it will make the learning much easier, but it doesn't have to be it's not a required component.
But let's talk about Oakland that provides devices for the training, but they don't get to keep them.
Yes, so sometimes that you will have a challenge to recruit people to participate in training if there's no incentive, device incentive, because I think they may expect, like, because we do loan the device to them during the training, and then they expect to have a device to take home at the end. Otherwise, they don't have any device to use after, just 7 or 8 weeks of training. And then if they don't have a device they keep using, they may lose the things that they learned. So we would recommend a device, a take-home device. It's 85% of it is paid by CTN. I mean, not CTN, CPUC.
And so we had one partner who recently acquired 10 of the same device through a donation. And we are working with them to do a class for those 10 people because they're all the same device, even though the CPUC grant isn't paying for it. All those devices are new and distributed by the partner, well, with their own funding, because they got a donation for that. And we recognize there is funding for devices outside of this grant right now. There's a lot of philanthropic funding for devices, and it makes everybody's life easier if it's the same device for all the learners, because then they can share tips and tricks with each other, and they have the opportunity to continue to work together as a group and become a cohesive learning community together. So that's why another good reason it's good for them to all have their devices. And they may have received devices last year or the year before, and they haven't been using them. And so we're here to help them get more comfortable with those devices. So it might be internet security might be important to them now that they've started to use their devices for a while. And we could also provide training on beyond the basics on things like internet security or job search or looking for housing or any other any useful online project.
And part of the ramp up includes a needs assessment that we provide in different languages. So gathering data on which devices your residents or your clients are already using and the topics that they're interested in learning, so we can customize the curriculum specifically to them.
One other thing I want to add is that CPUC would allow previous program participants to retake or re-participate in the program. They just cannot get another devices, but they can participate. Like if you offer them a beyond the basic curriculum, they can participate again. So if you have participants or from EAH or other programs that have taken advantage of the funding before, and the learners want to go beyond the basics, this is also a good opportunity to apply for funding for those kind of programs.
And Molly asked in the chat, what happens if somebody misses a class?
Yeah,
Just a class.
Yes, that happens quite often. We will work with the learners and the partners to help these learners make up. So there are different ways to make up for the missed class. We have recordings if it is an online class. We also, our instructors usually happy to stay late a little bit or join the class a little bit or go early to help the learners make up for the missed time. So these are all the different ways. And then if there are multiple groups happening back to back or simultaneously, we can have the learner from one group to join another group within the same partner site. Not mixing them across different partners, but within the same partner site, they can come to a different group. So we try to help the learners as much as possible. We understand that things could happen, people get sick or any kind of emergency. So we want to help them to succeed.
Thank you. Were there any other questions? So what's next, Cami? What do we do next if people are interested in working with us?
Well, we say thank you for your time today, but most importantly, Carrie Gray is your point of contact. So her contact information is on the slide, and maybe you could shoot it in the chat as well. We are organizing one more webinar that will be more of a deeper dive on the application, and we'll bring in one of our partners who will share their story of how they determined what their program was going to be, and then what the process was for filling out the application. There's a few things that are contingent upon other things that you need to think about doing that might take a few days, like getting an affidavit signed and other things like that. So we are still working on scheduling it. We'll send out messages to all of you when that happens if you're interested in attending that webinar. And then we're opening up 30-minute time slots for you all to meet with either Carrie or Sabrina and talk through your questions. It's a lot to think about if you haven't done this before, or even if you have done it before, you're going to take what you're currently doing and figure out how to fit it into this grant opportunity. So we're happy to lend our support in helping you figure all that out. So I think with that, we are wrapped up, but we can hang on the line for a few more minutes if anybody wants to stay on and ask a question that they didn't want to ask before. We'll stop the recording, and we want to thank you again for your time.